Welcome to One-on-One with County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm LORNA VIRGILI, and once again, thank you for joining us and thank you for watching. Again, it's a pleasure to sit down with you and talk about what's going on in Montgomery County. It is summertime. Things tend to slow down a little bit, but not here, not in Montgomery County.
That's for sure.
Exactly. So let's start up with the new proposed legislation on teen curfew. Youth under the age of 18, according to this proposal, will technically, once approved, not be allowed to be out and about within the county after 11 p.m. on weeknights or midnight during the weekends. Why? Tell us why.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back again. If you note in the region, the District of Columbia has a curfew. The citizens of Prince George's County subject to a curfew. Unfortunately, many of the youth find that there's an area of least resistance, and that area, unfortunately, is Montgomery County. So we get a large, disproportionate number of youth who are coming from those jurisdictions to, in fact, engage in Montgomery County. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it's in antisocial behavior. One of the things that I've noted for a period of time, going back for a number of months, is that we have large numbers of very young people who are not properly supervised. This measure of a curfew will not affect those kids who are acting appropriately. It will not affect those kids who are properly supervised. It will not affect the quality of the daily life of many of our young people who are doing things constructively. So what will happen if all of this is approved as I've recommended? Then we will have a curfew, or a midweek curfew, as well as a weekend curfew. Young people who are not properly supervised, so that there's someone out there who's with a parent or relative, they're working, and all the exceptions, those kids are not affected at all by this. But if you are not, and you're not properly supervised, our police officers will ask them to go back home and to get off the street. It is only when someone will disobey the police officer at that point in time that you have further action that would proceed from that. It is not designed in some random way to just simply start picking up young people all over the place and to discourage them from doing what we consider to be very wholesome things, things in which they can actively participate in through the county. We have a large number of things that I think our county is providing. I also want to make certain that people understand that regarding the behavior that I think is somewhat troubling involving our youth, and so many of them unfortunately have gotten involved in crime and antisocial behavior, that we want to make certain that we provide a balanced approach to this. So the curfew is only one aspect of it. We have the other aspects in terms of our positive youth initiative, the sports academy, all the things that we're doing through recreation, the mentoring programs. We're actively trying to find and want to make certain that they have jobs. So if you balance the positive youth initiatives, the sports academies, the things that we're doing with the school system, things that we're doing with our recreation department, and you put all of those things in perspective and balance that with what we are doing with the police officers and public safety, I think that we have a proper balance, hopefully, that will keep us at a level to reduce crime and to make certain our young people have a wholesome experience and that families and everyone can enjoy the many amenities that are out there in Montgomery County.
Now, let me just kind of repeat what you mentioned. If youth, it's supervised with family members, adult supervision, they're not engaging in any antisocial behavior, it's okay, that's fine. They can be out and about town past the curfew time. Let's say police officers encounter some of those behaviors, and you did mention also the fact that police officers are going to ask you to go home perhaps.
Yeah.
And if they don't, if the youth does not go back home, then that is a violation. What would happen then?
Well, it depends. First of all, we want to try to properly warn people before the officers engage. And oftentimes what you would have, the officers attempting to call the families or literally taking that young person in to in fact connect with the families. So we're not designed to ensure that that detention becomes a sort of serious crime initiative. I think there's some tweaking of the legislation that we're going to make certain that that does not happen. But if you fail to obey, if you fail to properly go in, then obviously you'll be subject to a penalty. That penalty will involve a great deal of community service, which young people will be subject to. We're not in the interest here in literally arresting people or punishing people. We simply want them to obey what we consider to be a reasonable effort, that is to be off the streets after 11 o'clock during the weekday, off the streets after 12 o'clock if you're not properly supervised, if you don't fall within one of the exceptions. This is what we are attempting to do. And I think when people look at that, and there have been some mixed reviews around the country about whether curfews are effective. And I think that if you utilize this with other tools, and I think that when you look at what is happening in other jurisdictions, then I think that we should err on the side of having the curfew. Because if we're wrong, the consequences are quite severe. It leads to further increases in crime. It leads into a large amount of behavior on the part of the general population would say, well, I'm not comfortable if I find youth that simply run around late at night unsupervised. I'm not sure that I want to go out and frequent our restaurants and the variety of things that we have within the county. And so we have to make certain that we balance that appropriately. And I think this measure does so. It's not a panacea in and of itself. We're utilizing other resources as well. But I think it is one tool that our police officers will have in order to arrest a very serious potential problem that we see developing in Montgomery County.
You mentioned that it is already existing in jurisdictions nearby, like Prince George's counties and also the District of Columbia.
That's correct.
And you mentioned that perhaps some of their youth come and play at nighttime in Montgomery County. Is there any part of the county specifically where we've seen increasing incidents of that kind that this legislation is trying to perhaps commence to avoid?
Well, the legislation is designed countywide, to which the county laws are effective. So obviously, it will not affect places like Tacoma Park or Gaithersburg or Rockville. But we hope that once we demonstrate the effectiveness of this particular tool, that those jurisdictions will follow as well. Yeah, there are some areas of the county that I think there are incidents that are higher than others, but every area of the county, I think, will provide some level of concern, at least for me, especially in the areas of our central business district. We have some real challenges there. Clearly in Silver Spring, where we have a hotbed of activities with a large amount of entertainment occurring there and around Silver Spring, but in other areas of the county as well. The East County, the White Oak area, the Glenmont, Aspen Hill area, in Gaithersburg, Lake Forest, Germantown Town Center, Rockville, all over. So when you start to look at this, you simply cannot, in my opinion, isolate one particular area. You need to make it countywide. Otherwise, I think all you're going to do is push that level of social behavior, some level of minor criminality in other parts of the county. My hope is that the various jurisdictions within Montgomery County will join the county, as they've done in many other places, to support this effort and adopt their own local measures.
We're going to take a small break right now, and we will be right back here on 101 with County Executive Ike Leggett. He was just talking about the proposed legislation on teen curfew. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 101 with County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna VIRGILI, and we were talking right before the commercial break. We were talking about the proposed legislation for the teen curfew. County Council will have a public hearing on the 26th of July coming up very soon, and it will very likely be a heated or venting place for a lot of the people in the county. What do you foresee happening there on that day?
Well, if I was a teenager under 18 years of age, I would like the curfew as well. But that does not suggest as an adult, the county executive of Montgomery County, we should not do this. When I was a young person and my mother wanted me to eat vegetables, I didn't want to eat it as well, but she thought it was right and appropriate for me. There are an awful lot of things that young people are asked to do that are in disfavor with young people. That's natural. A young person would want to have as much freedom as possible. Within individual families, there are constant struggles about do's and don't do, and do's and don'ts that you have in a typical family. It's part of our nature. It's part of what young people will see. But they don't see the entire picture the way we as adults, as legislators, as parents, and others will see it. And so if I was in that situation, as a young person under 18 years of age, and someone said that I have a curfew, I probably would rebel. But that does not justify me not doing this.
Let's talk about the crime figures that the police department just released very recently, and it turns out that crime has gone down in the county approximately 4.6%, at least for the first months of this year of 2011. Good news, obviously, for Montgomery County, correct?
It's good news, but I think we could do better. And one of the things I want us to do better is, in fact, with teen crime, with gang behavior, and some of the antisocial elements that we are trying to address as it relates to the curfew. One of the things that people have said, well, why don't we wait until we see a greater trend in crime before we take on these kinds of measures? I think that's irresponsible. You don't wait until there's a crisis. You don't wait until you have no other option. I think we should be proactive. If we are proactive, we balance this with all of the other things that we've had in terms of public safety, we will see those numbers go down even further. Any crime in Montgomery County is too many. I know that's idealistic and it's difficult to obtain that level of public safety, but that's what we should strive for, to be as low as possible with the resources that we have, trying to make certain that we are responding to the challenges, not after this happened, but proactively in providing measures and working with our community, our law enforcement efforts, people, in order to provide a lower level of crime.
Recently, I believe in the last few days, you were there for the groundbreaking of the new smart growth, the first smart growth initiative in the county, which will be the construction of the equipment maintenance facility near Shady Grove. Tell us, how much is that going to be, the project in itself, that development itself, and what it's going to do for that growth, particularly in that industrial area of the county?
Well, I think we need to put some context in here in terms of what this means, the Smart Growth Initiative. It is designed to ensure take advantage of the many resources that we have in the county to implement the Shady Grove sector plan and to make certain that we provide a mixed-use development project in and around the county. That's just an aspect of it, but in order to get to the point that we're in today, I enlarged this envelope, if you will, in terms of the things we needed to do. When I first came aboard as county executive some years ago, I looked at a variety of requests for revenues to improve, expand, to make better many county facilities. I looked at it and I came to the conclusion that we were spending large amounts of money to provide improvements to facilities that I thought was inappropriate, facilities that were in the wrong place, and it made it impossible for us to implement the sector plan in Shady Grove. So I said, let's take all of these things together and put it in a smart growth initiative that involves literally about 25 different moves. And I said, we can, in effect, move many of the projects that we have, many of the facilities we have, get better facilities for the county, improve those facilities, and come out revenue neutral. When I said that to my staff, they looked at me like, are you kidding me? You're talking about all of these moves with high citizens' awareness about these things, and this won't happen. This will take forever for us to get done, and this is highly problematic. But I was insistent that we can do this. And after a great deal of work on the part of a large number of people, especially Diane Swartz-John on our staff, in working with our citizens, the county council, and everyone else, we have moved this county along in a way that I think is going to be profound for the resources and the facilities we have in the county, for smart growth in the midsection of the county, and I think will implement a plan that will have benefits for the county for the long period of time. So we've taken public facilities, moved them, large numbers of them. We've taken private facilities that will come in to now exist in public land, will be lands of which they will make use of, provide tax resources, provide housing, provide mixed-use development, generate tax, generate jobs for us, and the county receives in return new facilities at better location for us to move forward. It's a win-win all around, but it has taken us a while to get here, and the new EMARC center that we've just had groundbreaking on is the first step in actually implementing all of it. It has taken us a while to get here, but it has been a really remarkable ride, and we've achieved something that is quite remarkable for this county that I think will benefit the midsection of the county for many years to come.
You mentioned this particular facility will have approximately 13 buildings, and it will serve as for the Department of Transportation, the Transit Services and Highway Services Department, General Services. Mm-hmm. You mentioned mixed uses. It also will serve as a day labor center for the county. Was that an item that was controversial in the past, but it's ready to go?
It was, but we found a location some years ago to place it at the maintenance facility right off Shady Grove Road. People raised their ires about it and said, oh boy, this won't work, but it's worked very well in my opinion. And so we will simply incorporate this now into the new facility that we're providing. And I think this is a good benefit from us. But the Smart Growth Initiative involved quite a few other things. The Public Safety Academy, the warehouse for our liquor control, maintenance facilities for school buses, and it goes on and on and on, a large number of entities that we've had to relocate, to build, to expand in order to make certain we get there. And I think that what we see today with this new facility is just the start of a remarkable chain of events that will lead us to a much better facilities for the Mid-County and a better quality of life for that area.
We're going to take another short break, and we will be right back with County Executive Ike Leggett here on 101. We're talking about the latest that it's happened here in Montgomery County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 101 with County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna VIRGILI, and right before we went to the break, we were talking about a little bit about development in Montgomery County, but now we're going to talk about economic development. We just had the U.S. Open. You were there the last 2 days of the event. Approximately 229,000 people attended the event. How much money from Montgomery County? Do we have those numbers finally? Because we've heard different numbers as to what was the real economic impact. But sort of an overview here, what it meant to host this event in our county, and also economic impact.
Yeah, well, we do not have the final numbers, but I think once they are revealed, it will be quite impressive for not only for Montgomery County, but for the region and for the state of Maryland as well. Just to give an indication of what I'm talking about, the U.S. Open sales in terms of merchandise and souvenirs, they anticipated gross sales of about $13 to $14 million of just sale of items at the tournament itself. The state of Maryland, in terms of sales tax, will receive probably $1 million just off that one single event that weekend. There are some costs for us, but I think those costs were minimum. Certain parts of the public safety, transportation, the county paid for. But once you balance all of those things out, the hotels, the restaurants, all of the people who were employed, and you won't get all of those numbers until there's time to file income taxes. But the economic benefit for us was simply tremendous. Not only the economic benefit, but a statement about Montgomery County in terms of our image literally around the world. Because we literally promote Montgomery County around the world, especially in the areas of biotechnology. And so having an event like this that goes over so well, I think really displays Montgomery County in a very favorable light. One of the things that amazed me about the tournament, for some reason I simply had not thought about this, but moving around at the times that I was there and seeing so many people from literally not just other parts of the United States, but around the world. You were walking around and you're hearing different languages and large numbers of people from various components of the world that came to Montgomery County for this particular event. So it was shown internationally in terms of an international audience on through the media. We had large numbers of international visitors who came to Montgomery County, and of course many people throughout this region as well. So I think from an economic standpoint of view, the numbers are going to be quite impressive for Montgomery County and the state of Maryland and the region. And from a publicity, a statement about this county and how well we managed this, I think is remarkable. The people that we had, from public safety to transportation to all aspects of this, turned out to be quite remarkable. Now, we did have one slight event that people took out of context. It was about the lemonade stand that unfortunately received a great deal of attention. But first of all, it wasn't a lemonade stand. It was a much different operation. And secondly, we attempted not to find the young people, but not to try to discourage them totally, but simply to have them move to the side of the street in order for us not to violate our own rules and regulations in Montgomery County. We had just so many requests for vendors, so many requests for people to sell various things along the route. It provided a difficult public safety challenge. It provided some concerns in terms of how we treated people equitably. And so we were able ultimately to work it out whereby they ultimately decided to follow the permit organizers advised to pull it around the side of the street, and the fine, of course, was not followed through on. And so we made certain of that. But it was a little bit of a misunderstanding, but we were able to work that through, and I think it came out quite well for us.
Overall, it was a very smooth week for everybody that
participated,
participated, and people did have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a good event.
And ultimately the weather cooperated. We were a little concerned about that, but it worked out very well.
Let's keep talking about money. Montgomery County will receive the largest Chinese investment, about what, $40 million? $40 million from China, the largest Chinese investment in the state. Right. Tell us about it, and how did it get here?
Well, it's been a long time coming. We've been working both locally and throughout the state with our Chinese counterparts to make certain that they understood the value of Montgomery County, especially in the areas of biotechnology. The fact that we have 19 federal agencies that are here, like NIST, NIH, and the FDA, and many others, that it's a place where we have large employers here in the biotechnology area, like MedImmune and Human Genome Sciences, United Therapeutic, and a very good educational system. That Montgomery County was the place that if you're going to invest in biotechnology, you wanted to look at this country in terms of the future development internationally. We worked on this and selling this idea of the Chinese. I had attended both South Korea and China on a recent trip 2 years ago. The governor was there this time and was able to seal a deal that I think was long in coming, to have the Tassi company to come in, a company that provides pharmaceuticals, many natural-made pharmaceuticals in China, to have them located in Montgomery County. This is a fairly big deal for us. But we look to grow this and to expand this to many other international firms as well, to locate in Montgomery County.
Big facility. It says here approximately 430,000 square feet facility within what's going to be the Shady Grove Life Sciences Center. Job creation?
Oh yes, clearly job creation, enhancing our tax base certainly, and will allow us to build on things that we've already started. Remember the big debate we had about the Science City, how we bring international firms in. Remember the big debate about the East County sector of the county, whereby we are trying to enhance that as well. All of those things work together, and as I said before, it doesn't happen overnight. And I have to congratulate the governor and his staff as head of economic development and others for pulling this together. A deal that I think was out there to be made, and he was able to close the deal in a very significant way that will enhance not only the state of Maryland, but certainly Montgomery County in terms of enhancing our tax base and creating additional jobs, very good high-paying jobs right here in Montgomery County.
Now let's travel all the way to downtown Silver Spring and the Fillmore Center, which will be opening officially its doors mid-September. I think the official opening is September 17th, I believe. But the facility now has some sort of informational center open to the public where you get historical background about the facility itself. Tell us, how is that going to impact economically, again, that part of the county?
Well, clearly Silver Spring has been a real success, most of Silver Spring. But there's one area of Silver Spring that has not seen the heightened economic development and revitalization. It's the west side of Colesville Avenue. We have some underperforming properties that are there. So what we found by bringing in this music center, we're able to enhance, particularly that entire block, increase tax revenues for the county, provide jobs that will come into the county, enhance the flow of people coming to Montgomery County into Silver Spring, that I think will benefit and help to complete this revitalization effort. We are very excited about the Fillmore. We think that we have a wonderful facility. We have a wonderful organizer who would operate this center. And I think that the citizens, once it comes, will welcome it with open arms. We want to make sure that this is a success, and I think that it will be, but it's a success economically, culturally. It provides a great deal of diversity in terms of the kinds of things that will happen in Silver Spring, but it would allow us also to complete one aspect of the revitalization effort that have been missing for so many years.
We're talking about 2,000 people will be able to come attend. Do you have an idea who's going to be the first performer?
I don't yet.
We don't know yet.
I don't yet. I put out for Sly and the Family Stone, but I'm not sure they can find Sly these days to get him to come. But
All right, well, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.
I think we highlighted several things that are going on in our county, and it is always, as usual, a pleasure to sit down and chat with you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for joining us. And this has been 101 with County Executive Ike Leggett. I'm Lorna Virgili. Thank you so much for watching.